Testing, testing, testing. Let's see here. Test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Oh, this sounds driving me nuts. Stop. How about that, J Dubs? Just doing a little checking. Can you hear this just fine? How about that, J Dubs? Just doing a little checking. Just fine. J Dub, appreciate you getting in early. I was just testing it a few minutes early. That's a little better. Okay, let me see what I can do. I've got a bunch of new equipment, but it's way above my pay grade. I got to get some college kid out here probably to help me out. I'll try to talk louder though. How about that? Jeffrey, appreciate that as well. We're getting started a little early here. I'm going to turn the sound down on this other one to make sure we're all good here. As we've got a guest coming in, of course, Alan Cashman will join us as he does. Hey, jump on in, folks. The water's fine. Let's send some chats. Chris Beach jumps in. I think the volume's fine, a little low, but I can turn the volume up. Appreciate that. Shane says, sounds good to me. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Hey, you know what? When you do radio for, gosh, since 1988, you got guys that do all that stuff for you. So, well, I love doing the podcast even better because nobody's telling me what to say, what to do, and we got great sponsors and all that good stuff. I I'm a veg when it comes to some of this technical stuff. I've been watching all these YouTubes, how to put together all this stuff, but I'm gonna have to get an engineer or something. Hey, I want to tell you about the good folks at Insignia. You've heard me talking about my good friend Karen. She does Nebraska, so she knows the Huskers, but she even loves her A&M Aggies even more. And we're going to give away some stuff today because of Karen. We really appreciate that. Also, want to tell you about our good friends at Treasure Investment Corporation. And we'll start having Michael on next week talking about great artwork you can put on your desk at work or home or on your mantelpiece or whatever. Some of the same artwork that Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump and other dignitaries have. And whether you like those guys politically or not, I'm okay. Certainly love Ronald Reagan, first guy I ever voted for, voted for him twice. Donald Trump, I just kind of, I mean, policy, obviously. I'm a conservative small businessman. Why wouldn't I? Right? It's, I vote for my betterment. That's what everybody should vote for, right? Okay. Shane sounds good to me. Chris, Jeffrey, J Dubs, appreciate you all jumping in. Jump in on that chat line. We are going to bring in our very good guest right now. If I'm smart enough to do this, hold on a second. See, I'm not smart enough to do this. That's the problem. Add to stage. Alan, my friend, you there?
I'm here.
Hey, love the backdrop as always, man. When you have the backdrop of being in the game room, that's what it's all about. I know I'm gonna have to hook you up with my middle son because he likes to run up to Kansas, the Wichita area, the Kansas Star, and goes in there. Matter of fact, he just went in there the other day. I go, man, are you a degenerate gambler? What sports going on Tuesday, right? But he did. He had fun, won a little money, which is always good. And that's why we're here. That's we're here to win some money, right, my man?
Yep, that's the objective. That's what we're trying to do.
Of course, you can do that at cashmanwins.com or thecashmanwins.com. Either one will get you there. But we were talking about one game that really surprises me, and it's tonight, right? You got Utah heading to Oregon State. Uh, Not going to have their quarterback back. I'm kind of wondering if Cam Rising will ever come back for Utah, but they're winning anyway. They're 4 point dogs in Corvallis. I mean, is that a spread that's off, Alan?
No, I don't think it is off with Rising not playing. Um, you look at Oregon State's coming off a loss, close loss, tough loss on the road. Gave up 528 yards, so they're going to bounce back. I think in this one, spreads 3.5 to 4. Last look, I think you mentioned 4 here. Uh, but you look at Oregon State, they've got two really good running backs in Martinez and Fenwick, 7.6 yards per carry, 6.8 yards per carry between the two. If they can run the ball at all against Utah, they should be fine. This is a pretty good Oregon State defense as well, regardless of what they gave up last week. But you've got Oregon State, their backup quarterback, Nate Johnson. He's completing 63% of his passes, which is, I guess, is average for college football. It's not elite by any means. But you look last week or last game against UCLA, Utah only ran for 2.1 yards per carry. So now they only allowed 23 yards per carry, so 9 yards on 32 attempts for UCLA. So good defense. Uh, I would lean Oregon State in this game, but I'm not comfortable enough to bet it. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the total is in this game. But you might look at the under also for this potentially, but it's just not a game I'm going to get involved with. I watched it, hoping Rising would play, and then see what kind of line we get. Then I might have taken Oregon State at home if this dropped down to -1 or -2 with Rising, but with no Rising and this 3.5, I think Oregon State probably covers here, but I'm not going to. It's not going to be a game I play tonight.
Alan, I kind of wonder what's going on with Rising. I mean, here we are, week 5, and the guy hadn't played it down yet, and he got hurt in the Rose Bowl, almost 10 months or 9 months ago. I just kind of wonder if he's not ready yet. Is he ever going to be ready at this point?
Yeah, it's coming on half the season here. You've got Cal next week, and then at USC and at Oregon. So maybe they're saving him for after Cal, and maybe if they're undefeated, and maybe they're going to get him absolutely 100%, and then maybe that last half of the season where they can take on USC and Oregon, and maybe have a chance at maybe a chance at the football playoff if they can win out.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're looking at.
That's crazy to talk about, but yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, they could go over half the season without well, not arguably, he is their marquee player. They've got quite a few, but he is the marquee player. Cam Rising when he comes back. be a little bit of a psychological ploy. I mean, but then again, you want him in some kind of playing shape, and the guy hadn't played 9 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's such a he's a dual threat. You know, they've only got one guy on their roster right now that's got at least 10 carries. It's got over 4 yards per carry. So he'll be so dynamic when he is back in there. What he can do with his feet and throwing the football. So he's a difference maker for sure. So maybe he. I mean, if he was healthy enough, you'd think they'd have him in here against Oregon State. So maybe they're going to wait and rest him to go to and play at USC here in a couple weeks, and then get him ready for the stretch run.
Yeah, it'd be real interesting because, I mean, he was a guy mentioned for the Heisman, but can't win a Heisman when you only play half the season. I would
Yep.
imagine. So, Alan Cashman joins us every Friday, and we're thrilled to have him because he helps you win. He helps me win. We all win. It's a win-win situation here on Fridays. And Alan, what are some other games? Now, you once again, for those of you who are new, we're adding new folks every week. The numbers go up, go up, go up. I would imagine this time of year from now we'll have 100,000 watching live, right?
Be
but
nice.
hey, what are some games? Because you go through a little differently. You're not one of these guys that, hey, we got a big special. Call this 800 number. You know all this like two for the money kind of movie. But
No.
what you do is you go through and you say, you know what, this game is off. I've done my research. I mean, that's what you're doing. You put your research to work. For everybody out there that takes your service, $52 covers all the college football, basketball, all the NFL, all the NBA, all that. The entire year, 52 bucks. Nobody does it, and nobody does it at nearly a 70% winning clip. Unheard of, documented, just ridiculous. And we're thrilled to get you on our show because I can't believe everybody else hadn't grabbed you up yet. What are some of those games that, with all your research, you looked at and you go, you know what, these spreads are not correct?
Yeah, I had 4 or 5 this week that kind of stood out. There's a couple I haven't pulled the trigger on. There's one tonight. We already sent out Louisiana Tech +1 tonight at UTEP. That's at 9 o'clock Friday evening. Louisiana Tech, they've won 9 of the last 10 meetings with UTEP. Really fought at Nebraska last week, keeping the score pretty respectable, losing 28-14. I think the mismatch here is going to be Louisiana Tech's pass game versus UTEP's defense. UTEP's defense graded in the bottom third by Pro Football Focus in tackling, pass coverage as far as FBS competition goes. Over 60% of Louisiana Tech's offensive plays are passing plays. Louisiana Tech, we're kind of middle of the road, number 62 in yards per play, but you look at UTEP's defense, they're number 111 in yards per play allowed. UTEP's defense only 20% on third downs this year. That's number 120 in FBS. Louisiana Tech number 64, so middle of the road there. Louisiana Tech's offense, though, number 27 in completion percentage this year. UTEP's defense number 92 in completion percentage allowed. I think Louisiana Tech, with Jack Turner, the backup cornerback, he's kind of taken over there. He looked pretty good last week against Nebraska. UTEP's quarterback may not play, and he's not very good anyway. Hardison, he's never been, followed him the last 3 or 4 years, and he's just never been very good. And UTEP's defense is down. That's what's kept them in the games previous years. The defense isn't very good this year. So I'm taking Louisiana Tech +1 tonight at UTEP.
Gotcha. That'll be one everybody's writing down for sure. Let's talk about the first 4 weeks, how you've done. Well, count the 0 week as well. I know we're at 69.7% all time, which is just incredible. But what have you done so far this year? Because sometimes, you can have a 70% winning streak and, maybe you've had a down week or something. This year, really weird for the second year in a row because, well, more so this year because you look like Colorado. You don't know. They've got a whole brand new team. The transfer portal, NIL has changed everything. So it's a lot easier, particularly early on, because you don't know what you've got. Now you're getting there. So has it been pretty good the first couple weeks, or has it been rocky?
Yeah, no, we've been all right, and we the NFL last night we hit on the Thursday night game. So our overall record in football this year we're 9-5, and I really, like I said, I haven't opened it up yet for college football, and I think we're getting to where the point now where I'm seeing some things where I think we're looking at 3, 4, maybe some 5-play weekends in college football. And like I said, I'll have some work to do between tonight and tomorrow morning on a couple other plays that I am kind of on the fence about. We're going to do a little more tape watch on a couple things. But I got 3 ready to go now, and hopefully by the morning we'll have 4 or 5 for subscribers.
Gotcha. Let me hold on. I'm gonna turn something off here, or I'm gonna get some backup. I just wanted to make sure our sound was okay. I don't know if you knew this or not. We had the beautiful Lacey Underall on the other day,
Saw that.
and had some sound issues that we're still trying to find where that sound file went. So we'll get that up. But yeah, Alan and I are not quite as good looking as she is, so bear with us. But Alan helps you win, so it's all good. He looks better when you win, doesn't he? So he looks good because we
Always.
win all the time. Hey, give me another game, maybe that's kind of flying under the radar. And like you mentioned, there's so many college games. Unlike the NFL, where Vegas is pretty much on the money a lot, college games they screw up a lot, and particularly early on this season because of what we just mentioned with the portal.
Yeah, I'm interested in Louisiana tomorrow at Minnesota. We had Louisiana last week at -9. They had I think a 40-7 lead late in the third quarter, and they blew the -9 and only won by I think 7 or 8. They didn't cover. They let up off the gas. They were clearly the better team. We were right about that. They just kind of let up in the fourth quarter. But I think you look at Louisiana here. They put up over 400 yards of offense in all 4 games this year, 500 yards in 2 of those games. The Cajuns have several threats in the run game, including their quarterback, Chris, who's their backup quarterback, but he's very good. He goes for over 10 yards per carry when he runs the ball. I told subscribers prior to the season, we actually took Minnesota under season win total. I don't love their quarterback. I think if Louisiana gets here and they can score and Minnesota has to throw the ball, that could lead to some turnovers. Minnesota's halfback, Darius Taylor, is nursing a bad leg. He may not play. And look at Minnesota's defense. They've allowed over 1,000 yards in the last 2 games of offense. So their defense has given up over 1,000 yards. I think Louisiana had their hiccup last week when they beat Buffalo, had that letdown. I think they're going to come in here hyper-focused and step up in class here with Minnesota. Minnesota's got Michigan next week, so that has to be on their radar as well. This is a 2. I have a 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star play. I downgraded this from a 2-star to a 1-star simply because I worry a little bit about Louisiana's play calling. They could have ran the ball last week and put this game away, and they wanted to throw. It ended up with a couple of turnovers that they probably should not have had when they should have been running the football. But you look at Louisiana's offense, 7.1 yards per play. That's number 12 in FBS. 491 yards per game. That's number 9 in FBS. Minnesota's offense, number 81 in yards per play in FBS. And then Louisiana's defense is number 53 in yards per play allowed in FBS. And then 6.4 yards per carry, number 3 in FBS for Louisiana. So I think Louisiana is the better offense for sure. And I think they ought to be able to hang with Minnesota here, but I don't think Minnesota is very good.
Yeah, I don't either. Minnesota really can't score. They shouldn't have won that Nebraska game first game. I mean,
Nope, absolutely not.
they screwed up with Nebraska screwed up, which has been their mo for about the past 20 years. But hey, you're in the Big Ten territory. I want to let you know, you folks in Big Ten territory, Nebraska used to be really good when they were in the Big 8, the Big 12, and every year we'd play them. When I was an Oklahoma State student back in the early '80s, they'd walk out and their fans were great. Of course, they'd kick our butts by 50 every game. But we'd just say, hey, they'd say, sorry, we had to beat you so bad or something like that. Say, hey, as long as you guys beat the Sooners at the end of the year, we'll be fine with it. So that's what rivalries are all about. Hate that some of this has messed up the rivalries. And for
Oh, I
those
know.
of you, a lot of folks are tuned in because of conference realignment, and that's how they found us, which is great because they found us, they found you. And I ran into a guy the other day, and he goes, the great thing about you having Alan on is I used to bet, the big games that game day would be at, or big noon, or what are the. He goes like everybody else, and I didn't know. He's said, but it makes sense. He's researching the guy's a stock market guy. He goes, it's like him finding a stock that's undervalued, and the next day it triples. He goes, I've been winning every week with this guy, and I'm sold on him. And I guess he got the package. I'll have to check with you on some names here in a little bit of guys that I talked to. But and by the way, if you haven't got the package, you'll never get a better deal. And this just isn't special for us. This is Allen's everyday $52 deal for the entire season. You're going to win that back in your first little bet or two. So, and once again, Allen's not like one of those guys. I always go back to that movie Two for the Money
Hmm.
with Pacino and McConaughey. And at the end, he's got a conscience because these guys he's given these big deals to are losing, and they're because they're losing their jobs, their families, their homes, and you never wanted to get like that. You were just a guy like hey, I'm a guy who's just a sports fan that's lucky enough to have a show for the last 35 years, right? You're a guy who did it for yourself, found out you could win at it at a high percentage, and help others do it without getting ripped off, without losing their homes. I mean, and you always give that advice that I absolutely love, and I always try to give. Don't bet anything you don't have to throw away, right?
Exactly right.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Got any other games for us, or any of the big games you might have a little bit of leading on? You're not quite ready to give up as a pick yet.
The big games scare me a little bit. I've got a another kind of under the radar game. South Florida at Navy on Saturday at 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
Sent out South Florida at plus 3.5 here. You look at South Florida, they put up at least 540 yards in two of their four games this year. Navy has allowed 6 yards per carry in two of their three games. I don't see Navy's pulling away here with their offense. USF had a fumble in the end zone last week, or they probably would have put up 49 or 50 on Rice. They still won by 2 touchdowns. And then South Florida's quarterback Bryson Brown, he's becoming a dual threat. He made some really nice throws last week against Rice. He threw for over 400 yards in that game, ran for 100 yards in that game. You look at South Florida's offense, number 51 in the nation yards per play, while Navy's defense, number 124 in yards per play. USF's offense, number 16 in yards per game. Navy's defense, number 104 in yards per game allowed. And then South Florida defense allowing just 2.5 yards per carry the last three games. I think maybe the wrong team is favored in this game going into this. So I think at 3.5, I think USF is a good look here. So we took them as a 2-star play that I sent out to subscribers yesterday.
Nice, nice. Let's talk about maybe one pro game that I know that, like you said, it's easier to find a spread that's off in college ball, but NFL, because I know we have a lot of folks that love them both. I watch them, but gosh, it's amazing how close Vegas is to those spreads. So harder to find, as you mentioned before.
They are. There are. This week, you look at some of the lines. The London game, Atlanta's a 3-point underdog. That's interesting. Jacksonville is not playing very well. You got Tampa Bay, that's plus 3.5 at New Orleans. New Orleans now has Jameis Winston at quarterback. If you watch the game, New Orleans was dominating Green Bay last week until Derek Carr went down, and they didn't score another point when they were up 17-0 when Carr went down in the third quarter, early third quarter. And when Jameis Winston came in, they didn't move the ball again. They ended up losing that game 18-17. I worry a little bit about New Orleans in that game as 3.5-point favorites. Don't love Tampa Bay. Uh, let's see. We've got, I think Cincinnati. That line's moved. It was -1. It's up to 2.5 now. I would think Cincinnati's always a slow starter, and then they start getting it going. So they're 2.5-point favorites now. I liked it better at 1. Miami is a 3-point dog at Buffalo. The last three games, I believe when I looked, the last three meetings, Miami has lost by, I think, exactly 3 points against Buffalo in at Buffalo. I worry a little bit about Miami last week laying those 70 points on Denver. So those games are hard. I think there's bad spot games for some of those teams. Pittsburgh 3-point favorite. If you can get a 2.5, I would probably. It's on my radar. I'm looking at 2.5 for Pittsburgh at Houston. Houston had a kind of a big win, but a little bit fraudulent last week against Jacksonville. Really wasn't an offensive showing. They had a defensive touchdown. They had a special teams touchdown. Won that game. I think Pittsburgh. They were one of the teams on my radar to start the season. We took their season win total over. I think right now, if I had to bet any uh, NFL game straight up, I'd probably grab Pittsburgh at -2.5. I'm going to be looking at some teaser options, though. I think there's some teaser options on the board with Philadelphia at -8, teasing down a little bit, and maybe even teasing Miami up or even teasing the Pittsburgh game to where you tease Pittsburgh to a dog with another team and still get pretty good value on that. So what the best play that liked was last night with the Detroit game. We won pretty good on that one. And I'm kind of on the fence here. And hopefully tonight, tomorrow morning, I'll have something else on the NFL.
Well, and those of you who watch every Friday and have been watched now in the past 4 or 5 weeks, you know that this is a snapshot. Like Friday afternoon, evening, we're giving you a snapshot, and things are going to change. There's going to be some side bets come up, novelty bets, whatever you want to call them. So and so, the quarterback's going to have 2 touchdowns before the end of the third quarter. Those kind of little side bets. And Alan's got those for you. And I know that some folks have been watching on Friday afternoon, and he tells you that, like an Oklahoma State fan the other day said, "Hey, he said he might have some prop bets, but he's not going to do the game outright." Well, you gave him a prop bet, I guess, maybe in your package, and he won. So he's pretty
Good.
excited about it. Rented him the other day. So you're making some people happy. I would urge you folks, really. I mean, Alan can only give you so much information on the show and only for 3 hours. And then you go ahead and uh, win. But there's going to be some things that pop up tonight and tomorrow morning before the games kick off, and you can win, but only if you get out of service at $52. Man, that you won't find that anywhere. I can tell you, absolutely positively can tell you, you won't find anybody with a service like that. All the college football games, all the college basketball games, NBA, NFL, all those games, the entire season, $52, right?
That's correct. 1 year, set it up as $1 a day or actually $1 a week. Dollar a week, $52. Yep. So I've kind of fancy myself as the handicapper for the working man. While folks are working their 9 to 5 job, I'm here looking up games and trying to find his winners. So you guys have something to bet on Saturdays and Sundays, especially during football season.
Well, that's like about 16, 17 cents a day.
Yeah.
And saw a guy the other day saying starting tomorrow or starting tonight, he was talking yesterday, starting tonight, it's like 56 straight days there will be live NFL or college football.
Yeah,
So
you have the action starting up during the play during the week. So yeah, it'll be gonna be a busy time.
got to get that action open. So I know you'll be looking for those games too. And hey, and this guy, I understand from one of your subscribers that like they'll let you can even text them and ask them about games, right? I mean, specifically if their alma mater's playing, and maybe they even have some information that not even on the presses yet that they give you.
Yeah, I encourage my subscribers. I encourage them if they've got anything that I haven't covered, they have got a question on. I just try to tell them to get it into me before Saturday morning because Saturday mornings are pretty busy. So try to get it to me sometime on Friday or before, where I can take a look at it and see why I don't like something.
Well, Alan, we always love having you on every Friday, and I know we're getting more and more subscribers every week. So, real, what are we in our third, fourth week now? So, looking forward to that. Howdy, AMAC. Howdy, Jerry. Howdy, Shane. Howdy, Chris. All the folks jumping on the chat line, and hey, every week you can jump in on the chat line as well if you got any specific games that you want to ask Alan about. He's got it all in front of him. He's done all the research, so you don't have to do it. And even if you knew how to do it, it's like stock market. Like there's some guy on YouTube that has a show and he pushes a day trader as one of his sponsors, right? I couldn't do that for the same reason Alan and I talked about earlier. If somebody lost their house because they gambled wrong or something, I just couldn't live with myself. So Alan has a conscience. Alan wants to help the average man win. As we always say, your honey doesn't get mad at you for gambling. She gets mad at you for losing. She'll like that winning. Take her to dinner after you win tomorrow with Alan's picks. And once again, go to the cashmanwins.com. Alan, have a great weekend, my friend. We'll talk next week.
All right, Greg. Thank you.
All right. Always good talking to him. And I want to let you know about our other great sponsors as well. Of course, Treasure Investments Corporation, our newest sponsor. But of course, Karen Johnson at Insignia. See that? I just got that. We just got that a package today. My wife goes, What'd you order now? I go, no, I think Karen was going to send me something. She did send us a whole bunch of hats, a shirt that I didn't even have time to throw on yet, but I will. I'll wear it Monday or Tuesday or something like that, and I'll wear several of the hats she sent me as well. Sent me some golf tees too, Karen. I gave up golf, but my middle son's thrilled. He loses tees all the time. Keychains, something else. They got everything at Insignia, and of course, all the information out on all of our social media and at gregswame.com, which we're adding a bunch of stuff on. We'll have all the logos. When you click it, it'll take you straight to site. By the way, you see, let's see, am I going the right here? That oh, Greg, Greg's gear. Karen set that up. And if you want something, you folks that have youth teams, things like that, football, basketball, soccer, baseball, tennis, softball, uh, what did I say, volleyball, leading, all that. Karen can help you out. You can email her, you can find her on Twitter, Karen Key Largo, and at Karen Key Largo. Insignia, they got all the gear. My son, one of my sons gets mad at me for, he was a college baseball player. So he gets, I love that logo, by the way. Insignia, Karen will set you up. And of course, you can go to Greg's Gear. We've got that everywhere. Oh, want to let you know about our man, Scott Hammer. Those of you who'd like to take Christmas, Thanksgiving, skiing trips, cruises, anything like that, any kind of vacation plans you got, Scott Hammer, Cruise Planners. And of course, you can follow him on Twitter and Facebook as well. We've got all that for you. Help Sunshine, Mark and Cindy Welch. When mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles want to live at home, but now they're needing a little more help. You know, they can't make it to the bathroom by themselves without tripping. Wake up in the middle of the night, need a little help. Just need a cup of water without getting up and risking falling down. A little light housekeeping, dinners made, things like that. My wife works for them, so I know everything they do. And some of those folks are people that I've known since I was a teenager and now needing that help inside the house. And my wife's helping them through Helping Hands, Red Sunshine. Of course, Alan Cashman, you know about him, cashmanwins.com. DoorDash and Wendy's are corporate sponsors, and they give us a lot of free stuff. We appreciate that for sure. Matter of fact, getting ready to have some Wendy's here as soon as the show's over. And hey, we need to talk a little bit about what some of you came here for. There is talk. The story continues not to die. And by the way, I'll get the logo out there since Karen was so kind to send me some gear. Make sure it's even there for my lopsided head, right? Yeah, listen. This Oregon State, and I've always felt bad for Oregon State and Washington State. Let's make sure my head looks better than it's supposed to look. There you go. Oregon State and Washington State belong as P5s. They're both in the top 25. You know, one loss between them all season long, and that was when they played each other. Oregon State's favored tonight over Oregon. These are good football teams, folks. And Oregon State, I remember when I was in high school, Oregon State was number one in basketball. Matter of fact, one of my good friends I did a TV show with for years, Matt Clark, former Oklahoma State great, he was being recruited by Oregon State back when they were number one, like 1980, right around there. Beavers fans will remember that. Shane says, what are the odds of getting a new offensive coordinator and offensive line coach at Oklahoma State this season? I would say very good, because if it doesn't happen, there'll be a head coach replacement. How about that? He won't be given a choice. It's really should have been given a choice last year. That was the shit show for sure. Anyway, you can join us on the chat line as well. Hope the sound's a little better. Yeah, it's getting worked on. Jerry, I hope you can hear us. You said can't hear you earlier. Yeah, on the Oregon State, Washington State thing, for one, young man who I respect a lot was talking about it on his show, said, it makes sense. Why would you let two teams in the Pacific Northwest just fall? Well, we already got Washington, we already got Oregon, and they're in the Big Ten. Yeah, but that's not really the same thing now, is it? Oregon State and Washington State, we've never had of course, we haven't had P5s and G5s very long. Oregon and Washington State um, would be the first two teams to fall out of the Power Five or Power Four, or Power Three, or whatever we're going to be calling it. They would be the first two to drop out of a power. They don't have a lot of money, but what the talk has been, and those who are reporting it, I've been talking to, and then some folks as well at both schools. I'll just say coaches. How about that? That take our recruiting service. I didn't say football or basketball. I didn't say women's or men's basketball. I just said at both schools, I have either a coach or an assistant coach telling me that they believe they'll be in the Big 12 soon enough. Maybe not by 2024, but by 2025. Now, here's the deal: if I was Washington State or Oregon State, I think I'd want to go maybe Mountain West for 2 years, because remember, the next 2 years, the top six conference winners, ranked conference winners, will be in the playoffs. And Oregon State and Washington State, if they were in the Mountain West right now, today, and we had the 2024 and 2025 playoff rules, they would one of the winner. Well, it was Washington State. If they went out, and they'd probably have to go 13-0 or whatever. They'll be in the college playoffs. So I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to stay G5 just for 2 years and then maybe that's what'll get worked out. I don't know. Um, J Dub said was hoping the Big Ten would take him. Yeah, obviously the money's about twice as much. Yeah, my alma mater, Oklahoma State. There was some guy mentioned the other day that Oklahoma State and somebody at maybe Texas A&M were going to go to the Big Ten together. I don't see that. Don't see that at all. But I mean, I can see Texas A&M wanting to get out of there. More money. They're AAU accredited. They don't want to play Texas. They don't like Texas. I'm an Oklahoma State guy. I don't want to play Oklahoma, and I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, it's because we're really good, we're growing. And no, I want to see what Oklahoma State will be like in 10, 20 years with the money they got. And by the way, those of you who watch the show, I don't know why this isn't reported all over the place. But Boone Pickens, about 2 months ago, it came out $350 million to his alma mater posthumously as well. That money could go a long way towards capital improvements, NIL, all that good stuff. If you got to fire a coach and it's $25 million buyout, well, you got 325 more after you buy them out. So, in assistant coaches generally are year-to-year contracts, so that's not a buy you'd have to worry about if there is any buyout at all. But yeah, I would have liked to see the Big Ten. Anybody take Washington State and Oregon State. Those are good fan bases. I think they're a cultural fit more so than the four that the Big Ten or Big 12 already has, the four corner schools. I think that Washington State and Oregon State are better cultural fits. They have ag schools, things like that. So, yeah, listen. I don't know if it's going to happen for sure, but I'm getting a lot of smoke in the last 36 hours. And we'll continue to watch this weekend. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter and YouTube, and not YouTube. YouTube's what you're watching now. You can watch on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and what's that other one? Thread. We even got one on that. That's kind of the liberal poor man's Twitter, right? Shane says, really not looking forward to the late games and travel. Shane, you're going to be an experiment for me here if I can do this. Star comment. Okay. Now, how do I? Okay, there you go. See, Shane, now I got you right below me. I've been watching all summer trying to figure out stuff, and I am absolutely, my dad had a PhD in aeronautical engineering and, designed flight systems for NASA and the space shuttle and stuff in the Apollo and Gemini projects. I struggle to do what do you call it, algebra. So I'm adopted. I didn't get those genes. I got the talking, yakking genes. But see, I just clicked Shane, and now I'll click J Dubs. See, how cool is that? I just figured out a new trick. Wow. You can't teach a 61-year-old dog new tricks. Hey, I'm having fun. Hope you are too. And want to thank, of course, Alan Cashman, cashmanwins.com. Go there now. 52 bucks, and he'll take care of you on all the NFL. You'll win your money back this weekend and then some, okay? Trust me, bro. Hey, want to thank Karen. Hey, thanks for sending us this insignia stuff. By the way, if you want anything, you can order it. Just go to their website. We've got all that on all our social media stuff, and of course you can even find her on Twitter at Karen Key Largo. Say, hey, they're talking about you on the Slam Show, Shane, with the laughing, crying smiley face. Love that. Hey, listen. There's 15-year-old kids who could do this with their eyes closed. Me, not so much. That's about going to do it. Want to thank all of our guests, all of our great sponsors. Want you to have a great weekend of football. Your high school team tonight, go win. Your college team tonight, go win. And all weekend, your college and NFL teams as well. And I hope you guys have a great, great weekend.